this thing is gonna end up on the internet. So, on the internet. I don't like the framing. There you go. Trying to perfect everything. Just starts already. Please. I just can't help. It's gonna look like shit anyway. So yesterday I tried filming a video and I was talking about my past experiences and how it somehow was hard to bring them out and talk about them in public. And and that's the topic I try to address. It's feel stupid, all right? Just like right now, I was feeling stupid and I was trying to, oh no, that you shouldn't put it that way. You should rephrase it. You shouldn't talk about that part of the story. You should, so you don't feel stupid. And that's the problem. That is just not just for making videos or creating content on the internet. It's transversal. It means that it just transfers to like every single thing. Like I was I was about to say like, but now I have the anti-like software anyway. But it just transfers to anything you do. And now the phone is too hot. But anyway, and it transfers to basically anything you do in life. That strange feeling of, oh, I shouldn't do it that way. I messed up. I should go back in time, right? and replay the situation. But it's not possible. You cannot go back in time and replay the situation. You just have to deal with that feeling of stupid, which is, despite what I'm trying to sound like, but tu sais quoi, je vais en profiter. I'm just going to take the opportunity to make that. Take a deep breath. Okay. Despite how I was trying to portray that feeling of stupidity, it's completely normal. And I have a little theory about that. I have a bro theory about that I just wrote down on my phone. And I have to talk about a form of social anxiety that I discovered was not really social anxiety. I remember back in the days that when I was younger than I already am, that's such a stupid phrase to say. Just, but it sounds funny. But anyway, I was playing tricks on people. Sometimes I was playing tricks on the cashier and say like, oh, that's not enough money. So it was very funny. And usually I was able to get a laugh from people by just being playful like that. And it was before I realized that it wasn't necessarily a normal thing to do and that I had to adapt to people. But that's just how I learned to deal with talking to strangers. It's with a slight sense of humor. And after the pandemic, I basically spent 3 years with myself, in my thoughts, with no social interaction at all, behind the mask. So no social interaction at all. It was really a weird period. But anyway, after that, that trait that I had disappeared, and I realized how this trait was important: to be playful with people, to have a sense of humor, and to not try to adapt to every single person, because first you don't know them. So you have to have a one mask, a one way of. That's what I realized, that I had to have one way of behaving. And since this trait disappeared, another trait replaced it, and it was a very, very boring trait. I was overly serious and way too polite. And I don't know why this happened. Maybe I should go to therapy, but I won't do that. Can be an interesting thing, but I don't know how this trait was replaced by the other. Maybe because I spent too much time with myself and I was studying a lot and doing a lot of serious things. That's probably what it was. So that trait wasn't handling the social aspect. That new trait wasn't handling the social aspect. It was, as it was very boring and trying too much to adapt to people, that new trait was what triggered that feeling of social anxiety, because it was trying to be too smart and too, because like intelligence, apparently how a definition of intelligence is to be able to adapt to any situation. I was already feeling stupid, but it was not a form of stupidity that, oh, I am stupid. I was more like, people are stupid. Okay, so that's how toxic this trait was. It was not because of me. It was not because of my tendency to really be overly polite and trying to sound very smart and this and that. It was because of people, because people were not polite, people were not smart enough, and I was the reference of this. And that was that form of social anxiety, but it was in disguise. And I wrote down learning new behavior, but as I'm trying to articulate, it was not a new behavior. It was an old behavior that was positive, but had disappeared, and I had to relearn it. So maybe some of y'all had the same situation where you had one trait, but it disappeared for whatever reason, and you want to go back to that state because it was really helpful for your day-to-day life, and you're like, why am I becoming that way? It was good how it was back then. And that's maybe how every adult feels when people say, oh, I wish I could feel like a child again. The innocence and how candid I was, and curious and playful. Okay, I think that's a universal problem. I'm not sure, but I really do think, thinking back to what I'm saying, that it's a universal problem. That trait was the friction to not want to go back to that original state. And to me, it was just preventing me to get into the learning process. Why am I trying to be so smart? And again, when I'm trying to break it down on video, I'm trying to sound way too smart. And it's just to tell you that I still have that trait. And it's resurfacing because I've learned basically to deal with that on real life situations. But as I'm filming the video, it's really going back like berserk. It sounds like I'm lecturing. You know, that's super, super, super annoying. Nobody would watch a lecture. If I want a lecture, I'm going to a Jordan Peterson video or whatever. I'm not going to click on a random guy to hear a lecture, but what is done, and that's just how things are. But anyway, basically the point is trying to be smart actually prevents me from learning. And I'm still having that because I'm trying to sound way too smart. And that's that moment where I snapped and I was like, oh, it sounds like a lecture. Oh, so people might as well just go and watch a Jordan Peterson video. They would be more entertaining. It would actually give them what they are searching for in the lecture. Someone who is learned and who did his research. And I'm not, I didn't do any research. I'm explaining a life situation, real life situation, like I was lecturing to people. That's the most annoying trait. That's the most annoying thing in that part of my personality is, and I'm aware of it. And the big problem, because I'm not giving like, oh, that's the solution, do this, do that. That's actually a big problem, and I don't know how I'm going to address that to stop that being that lecture guy, that actually guy. But that's how it is. So, and that's the whole point of the video. I'm basically breaking down how stupid I'm feeling, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts, and that's really the whole point of the video. So I think that's beautifully done because just because of what's just happened. It's just me freestyling and gathering my thoughts and understanding, oh, why am I so ridiculous, and basically making fun of myself. And I think that's the big solution. I said there is no solution for that problem, but the solution to that problem is very simple. Like, make fun of yourself a little bit, not not too much to the point where people just don't take you seriously anymore, but a little bit of sense of humor, a little bit of I don't know how you call that. How do you call that? I don't remember. In French we say de la dérision, de l'autodérision, but in English it's like self-deprecating humor. I guess that's that. But that's the thing. Don't take yourself too seriously and allow yourself to feel stupid. And in I want to build a YouTube channel and talk about certain things and certain topics, and those are like a bit scientific, intellectual, philosophical topics, but I don't want to go straight into these topics. I need to develop that persona, that strong personality that is not that will not break easily, and it has to be flexible. And that's the thing. I need to get rid of that whole being smart, and that was my big solution. Is just feel stupid. Just feel stupid, and there is no problem. It's the second video. I think probably for the next 50 videos nobody will watch, so I might as well go freestyle and not think about these stupid things. And I would wrap this up with the importance of preparation, because you don't need to be to look smart if you are prepared, if you have your points, if you have your life experience, if you're living your life how your if your life experience is relevant to what you're telling people, there is no need for trying to sound smart, because it will just come across as relevant, because the way it's a matter of flow, right? If you talk about what you're actually living, you will be able to live the talk, and the talk will be lively, and it will make a lively content, and lively people are attractive, and so people are going to watch and basically be good in a good environment, have the right conditions to learn from your experience, because it's a genuine experience. But anyway, just feel stupid, okay? There is no problem in feeling stupid. It's actually the best way to learn. Okay, that's the moment where I go blank and where I stop the video. Perfect.